hour. So we'll go ahead and put some times of arrival on there. If it moves off to the east, northeast at 65 miles per hour, that rotation will take it right through Rockville and then eventually towards Waveland. 222 for the town of Rockville, so within the next few minutes, you don't have much time. Judson 228, and then eventually over towards Waveland at 2:33 Eastern Time. Again, at this moment, there is not a confirmed report that a tornado is on the ground, but that rotation has been detected with Doppler radar, and one could briefly spin up along this leading line of storms. Still going to be a strong wind gust. The severe thunderstorm warning continues for areas along and west of Highway 41 for most of Park County. That's going to be until 2:30 for the 70-mile-per-hour wind gust potential. And then we also had a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for northern Vermilion and Fountain counties. That's until 2:45 Eastern Time. So that's going to be up in the Perrysville area. Still some strong wind gusts capable there. But obviously our main concern is going to be down in Park County, where we are going to be tracking that rotation. So we're going to zoom in closer. That rotation was right over the Mecca area with this line of storms. And that's going to be racing to the northeast at 65 miles per hour. So there you can see where the strongest wind is indicated, again, right over the Mecca area. So if you're in Rockville, now's the time to seek shelter as this rotation heads your way. We get the latest radar scan there. This is where we would be seeing that rotation. It's pretty tight in there. Again, not a report of anything confirmed on the ground at this moment, but basically areas between US Highway 36 and 41, that kind of triangle here, that's where we would be seeing the strongest rotation. But still, if you are in Bloomingdale, you need to seek shelter, Judson, even up towards the Turkey Run State Park area, up into Marshall, Indiana, that's where we're going to be seeing this race off to the northeast, eventually up into the northeastern part of the county, over towards Waveland, which is over in Montgomery County, where you can see some of that stronger wind indication there. That's where we're most concerned with the rotation over in the western part of Park County. So I'm going to take the velocity mode off so you can see what you're used to seeing, which is what we call reflectivity mode, and it shows where the heavy rain is falling, and that's going to be all along western Park County, along and west of Highway 41. Lightning being detected there. We have 62 lightning strikes, 63 now on the counter. So if you're in Clinton and the sirens are still sounding down there in Vermilion County, the threat for this tornado-warned storm has made its way across the Wabash River. So Vermilion County is still technically in the warning, but that has moved off to the east. And I'm not for sure, but I think a lot of the sirens in Vermilion County, if one goes off, they all go off. So if you're up in the Perrysville area or Newport into the Dana area and you're hearing the outdoor warning sirens, it's likely for this warning that is over into Park County. So the threat for severe weather has mostly made its way to the east. Still some strong wind gusts within that line of storms, but Rockville is the area that we're going to be most concerned with here within the next few minutes. Another new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued. That's going to be a continuation for this line of storms as it makes its way off to the east. So obviously we have the tornado warning for that one little area of rotation, but we could still be seeing very strong wind gusts within this. This warning still is going to be out for 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that's going to include the eastern part of Park County, so the Raccoon Lake area. You get into northern Putnam County. This warning will include southeastern Fountain, and then over towards the Crawfordsville area. That warning is going to take us until 3 o'clock Eastern Time for those strong wind gusts out ahead of those line of storms. So we're going to zoom out just a little bit so more of you, if you're watching, can see where the rain is falling in Terre Haute. Luckily, Terre Haute seems to have dodged the worst of the wind gusts with that line of storms that came through the area. I'm going to go back to the National Weather Service chat and see if there's any new information that they're passing along. Getting some old hail reports out of central Illinois. Looks like some hailstones, potentially up to $half sized, fell in Effingham when these storms were coming through Effingham County, Illinois. And right now we're not seeing any new activity with our chat room from the National Weather Service, which again, a lot of times, no news is good news when it comes to some of these thunderstorms, as they're not getting any confirmed reports that anything is on the ground. But obviously, if you're in Park County, you know the landscape, a lot of hills, a lot of hollers. It's going to be difficult to see anything coming through that area, especially at night. So they are still tracking that rotation closely. We'll go back to the radar and zoom in on Park County, because that's where our greatest concern is going to be right now, as we still have that tornado warning that is in effect until 2:45 Eastern Time for just this little bit of rotation that is within this thunderstorm. So the biggest concern is going to be just to the west of Rockville, the west side of town there, and then that's going to be headed up towards Bloomingdale. So we'll try to zoom in even closer for you. So that rotation again would be crossing US Highway 36, headed towards Highway 41, Bloomingdale to the north of Rockville, so that's where we're going to be tracking the rotation as it moves its way off to the northeast. Judson, you would be in the path of that, and Waveland, technically outside of the tornado warning at this point, but that is where that rotation would be headed. And again, I want to emphasize, we do have the tornado warning in effect. You need to take it seriously because a tornado could be produced at any time. But right now, we don't have any confirmation that anything is on the ground in Park County. This is all based on radar-indicated rotation, just some spinning going on right now up in the clouds. And you can see how fast this is moving. Every time we get a new radar scan to come through, it is racing through. And even if a tornado is not being produced, we have some very bright colors indicated on radar there. So there could be some strong wind gusts mixed up within that thunderstorm. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give a sampling, and we're going to see what radar is detecting, but don't think this is hitting its way down to the ground. This is what radar is estimating higher in the sky. It is possible that some of that wind could be pushed down to the surface, but radar is indicating we could be seeing a 73-mile-per-hour wind gust within that line of storms as it races through Park County. And that's why we have those severe thunderstorm warnings that surround the tornado warning, because even if a tornado is not produced, you're still going to see very strong wind gusts with this line of storms as it makes its way off to the east. Now, not to forget some of our Illinois viewers, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for some of our eastern Illinois counties, Clark, Edgar, and Vermilion counties. The eastern parts of those counties remain under a severe thunderstorm warning until 2 o'clock Central Time as that line of storms starts to make its way out of the area. The greatest threat at this point is mostly east of Highway 1. So that's going to be sliding into Terre Haute. We're starting to see the rainfall in Terre Haute here, but again, the wind has died down from what it could have been as this line of storms was pushing through. And then down to the south, again, we're going to be keeping a close eye in these locations because that's where our next round of storms is still coming up from the area. And I'm going to switch over our radar sites, currently using Indianapolis. We'll go over to the Evansville radar. Some heavy rain falling right now in the Clay City, Illinois area, just to the east, northeast of Flora here. No warnings for that, but definitely some heavy rain, thunder, and lightning in eastern parts of Clay County, Illinois. And then extending down south of Olney, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings for Wayne, Edwards, and Wabash counties. This cluster of storms, you can see all the lightning here, is going to be surging to the northeast. So if it maintains its path, that will be headed toward the Lawrenceville and Vincennes area, where you guys down there haven't had as much in the way of rocky weather. Certainly been windy tonight, starting to see some rain, but the severe threat so far has stayed to the southeast of you. So again, here's a wide look at this line of storms that continues to make its way through the area, almost right on time with what we were expecting across the area. And the good news is once the main line comes through, that's going to bring our severe weather threat down to an end. Still some lingering storms around the Decatur area, but those are racing off to the northeast, so they won't be a big threat to us as we go through the rest of the night. That tornado watch does continue for a good part of the Wabash Valley until 4 o'clock, but as I mentioned, once that main line comes through, our severe threat starts to come to an end. So Douglas, Coles, Cumberland, Effingham counties, you all have been dropped from the tornado watch, and we'll continue to see these counties get shaved off as this line of storms pushes off to the east. And we're going to be interested to see as we go through the next few minutes or so if they extend that watch, either a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch, over into central Indiana to include Lawrence and Monroe County and even the Indianapolis Metro, where so far you all are still watch free. So let's go back to the Storm Team 10 Storm Tracker. Our biggest concern at this hour is still going to be up in Park County, so that's where we're going to zoom in. We have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Vermilion, Park, Vermilion, Park, Fountain, and Montgomery, and also Putnam counties. That's going to be for this Boeing line of storms here, capable of producing 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then within it, we're tracking some rotation in that leading edge of the storm as it goes through Park County. So we're going to zoom back in a little bit closer, and we will see if we can get a better idea of where that rotation is at this point. Moving very quickly to the northeast, 65 miles per hour. So right over the Bloomingdale area now, that's where we would be seeing that rotation. So Turkey Run State Park is up here, just to the south of that area around Marshall, Indiana, and then that's going to be pushing its way over towards Waveland. Again, this is still for radar indicated rotation. At this point, we haven't got any confirmed reports that anything is on the ground. And that remains the case as I check with the National Weather Service. They're not seeing any new information there, but the rotation is still warranted enough that they are continuing that warning. Now, technically, this warning, when it originally was issued, that storm was right over the Clinton area. So Vermilion County is still technically included in that warning, but the threat for the possible tornado is out of the Vermilion County. It's raced off to the northeast. Again, it's up to the north of Rockville, where we're most concerned with that. So Vermilion County, still some heavy rain falling, claps of thunder, flashes of lightning. but that tornado threat has moved off to the east. And still, even outside of the concern for that rotation that we're seeing in Park County, we could still be seeing those 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts as that line of storms makes its way through the area, and that's going to be into the eastern part of Park County right now. So the main threat is starting to shift over to the east side of US Highway 50, very rural parts of Park County, over towards Turkey Run State Park and even over towards Shade State Park is where we're going to be tracking that rotation. And then it's going to continue to move eastward eventually towards Crawfordsville. So we'll put some times of arrival on there. Again, that line moving to the east at about 65 miles per hour, right around the Highway 41 area now. And if it continues at its current pace, Waveland, you can expect it just a little after 2:30. Waveland's right around here. Crawfordsville, 2:45. So that storm, again, racing off to the east. It'll be out of Park County shortly, but we'll stay with you through the time being as long as that warning's in effect, as we are still monitoring that rotation through the northern part of Park County. Though at this point, it looks like the worst of the storm is also out of the Rockville area. So that's some good news as this storm continued to race off to the northeast. That rotation now to the northeast of Bloomingdale. This is State Route 47. And that's where Turkey Run State Park is located. So this is just south of Turkey Run State Park in the Marshall area. That's where we're seeing the strongest of the wind and the potential for some of that rotation at this point. We'll go ahead and sample that radar again. Looks like it's getting a little weaker from some of these radar scans, so that's certainly some good news, but it's still capable of producing some strong wind gusts as that makes its way through the area. Radar sampling a gust of 62 miles per hour, but again, that was taken up above, so that doesn't necessarily mean it's making it down to the surface. So we'll zoom back out, take a wide look at all the locations impacted again. So if you're watching down in the southern part of the News 10 viewing area, you can see what is headed your way. Whole Boeing line of storms continues to race off to the northeast, but the good news is we're just seeing pockets of the heavy rain and that, or the strong wind gusts, and that's what we've been anticipating through the night. We've had a lot of wind up above us that's led to the potential for some of these damaging wind gusts, but we missed one key ingredient. We didn't have a lot of moisture with this system. A lot of times when you get in the spring and summertime, you have a lot of moisture. It's rained recently. You get into the summertime, you actually get a lot of moisture from cornfields in the area. Obviously, we lack all of that this time of year, so we had a lot of wind, which is one ingredient that we need, but we lacked some of the moisture, so that means that this threat for severe weather, we didn't anticipate it to be a huge line that just produced all kinds of damage out ahead of it, but pockets of those wind damage reports is what we've been expecting with this system, and that could be what is playing out, as we have had reports of some damage in the Coles County area, either from straight line wind gusts or even potentially from a tornado earlier tonight. The National Weather Service will send survey crews out as we go through the weekend, and we'll be able to confirm if something did touch down over in Coles County earlier tonight. But definitely, certainly an active night across the area. Even if it's not storming where you are, the wind is still very strong, and it's going to stay windy even as we get into the daytime tomorrow, with wind gusts still as high as 45 miles per hour as we get into the afternoon hours on Saturday, and we'll see the possibility for some more rain as we get into Saturday afternoon as well. So go back over here to Park County. We'll scan in. I think the worst of it, the rotation, is starting to move out of the immediate Park County area, again, right here, and you can tell the colors are getting a little more dull, so I think that rotation is starting to weaken quite a bit. Certainly some good news, but that's going to be up in the Turkey Run State Park area, headed over towards Shade State Park. So the far northeastern corner of Park County is where we're seeing the greatest threat for any rotation with the storm. And the National Weather Service is confirming what we're seeing here that we've been looking at with the storm tracker, that rotation is weakening. So at this time, they are not expected to issue a new tornado warning over into Crawford County or to Montgomery County towards Crawfordsville, because that rotation is weaker. So that's certainly some good news. And since we're seeing that indication, we will go ahead and send you back to programming. We'll just do another scope of what we're seeing on the radar. Again, we have that severe thunderstorm warning that's going to continue for Park, Putnam, and Fountain counties, as that line of storms continues to move off to the northeast, capable of producing strong wind gusts. Some rotation up in the northeastern part of the county, but that has been showing some signs of weakening, so that's some good news. If you're in Clinton, the worst of the rotation has moved out. Even in Rockville, still some thunder and lightning and heavy rain up there in Park County, but the rotation has moved to your northeast. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning for Vermilion, Edgar, and Clark counties technically, but that threat has kind of pushed over across the state line at this point. And then we're watching new development, or not new development, but along the southern edge of this line of storms as it makes its way toward Richland and Lawrence counties. That'll be our next area that we're going to closely monitor. And if we get any new warnings, we'll be sure to let you know. But for now, we'll go ahead.
Sustain presents Multi-Symptom Dry Eye Relief, starring Ben, the Burning One. Sustain Complete, his solution. Its unique formula gives 8 hours of multi-symptom relief. Open your eyes to lasting relief.